I highly recommend circle prospecting. I did dabble in FSBOs, expireds, and quite honestly, it just didn't work for me. Even though I did end up getting some listings through it, it was like pulling teeth. Some of the FSBOs and expireds that I got were because I was the first person to contact them. And it was not because I called them in the morning. I had actually set myself on getting an alert from Zillow straight from their platform to email me. So if a homeowner posted a home on Zillow and say it became, I don't know, available in 30 minutes, it showed up on Zillow, I would get an email and I would call them. And usually I was the first person to talk to them. And so the conversation was completely different than if you were to call them the next morning, because I'm noticing people don't realize or pay attention. And I noticed any third party platform that you pay to get leads, they generate the data overnight while we're sleeping and then sell it to real estate agents. So then all the real estate agents call them the next morning. And that's usually when a lot of newer people, not newer people, any real estate agent calls them in the morning, and then they're just absolutely aggravated because everybody's calling them since 7:30 in the morning. All right, next, that was a contact. If you happen to notice, even though I was asking for a female, I knew it was the male voice, and I just pretended like, oh my God, I have the total wrong number. He corrected me. It was like, no, I'm the husband. That's what I wanted. That's a little tactic I use. So then I know, okay, I'm talking to the homeowner. Same like if it's a male name, if it's like Michael and a female answers, especially when that happens, they're like, who is this? I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I have the wrong number. They're like, this is the wife. And then I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's okay. I'm just a realtor. And they're like, oh, okay. They calm down. Other things I notice on there, some of you said you're struggling with consistent leads. I've been there. I get it. And honestly, this will be very annoying, but I will tell you, in order to get consistent leads and consistent listings and consistent closings and commission checks is by sitting your booty in a chair and at least calling for 1 hour a day. A good portion of you had mentioned that you're either working another job or you're working part-time to pay the bills. And my recommendation, if you wanted to start, and I wish I had done that. I wish I had had a part-time job or a full-time job and just started circle prospecting like after work for an hour on the weekends, because the weekends are great. If you just want to start practicing, do it on Saturdays for just an hour or two, just to like break the ice, get used to the systems, get some leads here and there. Want it to work, I would recommend, like, if you have a 9 to 5, just be on the phone from like 5:30 to 6:30. Try it for 3 days a week, then up it to 4 days a week, and then 5 days a week, and if you can. And if you're just like, I have to make it work, I mean, your lifestyle is just going to have to change. Like, you're not really going to be able to go out and hang out with friends or go to parties or do weekend activities. And I would just be like an hour a day after work and on Saturdays, and then take Sundays off. So Eduardo was asking, what is the cutoff for you in the evening? 6:00. I have gone into 6:30 only because I actually get wrapped up and I'm on a roll and I'm getting leads and people are answering. And that's when I tell my husband, like, can you please do dinner? I'm like having a good roll. And so I'll keep, in case you're wondering, I'm just, regardless if you're watching me or not, I do this all the time, even if I'm not on live. Like, I was already doing this for 40 minutes with my inner circle earlier, just because it's the thing to do. And it's all about consistency. There are days I get 0 leads. Some days I get 1, some days I get 2. And if I go for a lot longer, I can get more leads. The only thing is, it's better to do smaller portions, like, an hour to 2 hours a day. Treat it like your job, because it is your job. I always tell myself, if I don't show up today, would I fire myself? Or like, if I don't show up today, would I get, reprimanded by my manager or something? Technically, yes. So why would I even do that? This is my business. This is my job. We're going to keep going Typically, I get about 1 lead for every 10 conversations, and sometimes I get 1 lead for every 20 conversations. It completely varies. You cannot control who your leads are. You cannot force anyone to do anything they don't want to do. I do not convince homeowners to sell if they don't want to sell. All I'm doing and all I can control is me sitting on the dialer and doing the phone calls. Once I had that huge mind shift and mindset, it all changed for me. That's when I consistently started getting leads. That's when I consistently started going on appointments. That's when I consistently started taking listings. Reality, they're just trying to qualify you. So it's okay if they start asking you questions. Eduardo said, are you counting on MOJO to track the number of dials and contacts you're making, or do you track that manually? I used to track it separately, manually. I used to do it on a notepad, and that got a little too chaotic. And then I started tracking it on an Excel spreadsheet, and I wasn't the greatest at filling it out. And then I started doing it on a chart that my husband created for me, and that didn't. I finally figured out how to actually start tracking everything on MOJO. So my MOJO is my CRM, MOJO is my dialer, and MOJO is my tracker. I do everything on there. In fact, I'll show you in a moment. I have to pull up, and I can show you how you can track it too. You just have to make sure to hit the right numbers or the right buttons so that way you don't mess up your data. Give me a moment here, I'll show you. That's actually how I track all my information. So for example, here, it tells me I've dialed for an hour, I've done 98 calls, and I have 7 conversations and 0 leads so far. This is all pretty automated as long as I tell it when I got a lead. Like there's a button I do and it says leads. But as far as the appointment sets, I still have to figure that out. The only thing I do know is you can add it. So this button over here, I hit add progress, and I'll tell it when I get an appointment. So as long as, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I've been bad at keep tracking my appointments lately. But at least this gives you like what do you call it? A snapshot, screenshot, or like a visual. So obviously you can tell I'm behind this month. I want to beat myself up over this, but I'm not going to because I did really, really well for quarter 1, making over $100,000 already. So I'm like, it's fine. I'll take it easy. But I'm going to keep going. That's why it's Monday and I showed up, even though I normally don't show up on Mondays. Ardo said, LOL, I just realized I have been messing up my own data. As soon as you made that comment, I knew that what you were talking about. Yeah, especially on MOJO, on the far right, contact, no contact. There's like 2 no contact buttons and then bad number. I will only put contact if it's the actual homeowner that I spoke to and I know. If it's not, then I just put not contact. So that's how I keep it nice and clean and tidy in terms of data for myself. And honestly, this has all just been through experience and time of tracking information. So that way I know where I stand, what my minimums are. In fact, in January, this past January, I forced myself and I really try to like figure out, okay, if I'm just consistent and I do an hour to 2 a day, and I'm only doing it for four, I think I was calling in January for 4 days a week. Because I wanted to have Saturday and Sunday, although that's kind of changed already. What would be the bare minimum? And the bare minimum was 350 conversations. And that's kind of my baseline I created for myself. For some of you, it may be different, but you just have to like experiment. So for example, let's say some of you have a full-time job and you can only do this part-time until you get yourself situated and you actually start building up a pipeline for yourself. Maybe if you say, okay, let me try having 100 conversations or 150, just try and be consistent, say, okay, I'm going to call for 4 days a week or 5 days a week, just 1 hour. 1 hour, 1 hour, and then what you wanna do is do it for a month and then look back. Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy from that book, The Gap and the Gain, really helped me a lot, and they said, "Always measure backwards, AMB." So I started practicing that for myself and, like, doing the work. Are we though? Are we really gonna talk soon? So where was I? Oh yeah. So just always measure backwards. Always like analyze. You can't improve what you don't keep track of. Like you have to know your own personal data. So if you know, okay, let's say the month of March, or excuse me, April, like you call the whole month of April, you did what you could and you were consistent. Maybe you had 5 conversations a day. That's fine. Cool. And then you look back, you're like, and then you look back and you can say, all right, well, I had 5 conversations every day, Monday through Friday, for just 30 minutes after work. And I had this many conversations. Then you can say, okay, cool. I had like 100 conversations, and I'm just making up numbers. I'm the worst when it comes to math up in the air. I have to visually see it. But if you can just think, okay, cool. I had 100 conversations in April and I ended up with 10 leads. Well, great. You have 10 of your own personal leads that you can nurture over the course of a period of time. So that's not a conversation in my book. I just want to see, hey, are you the homeowner? Hey, do you currently own it? Hey, are you thinking about selling? And hey, do you have a realtor? That's a wrong number too. And hopefully this gives you guys a good perspective of like what it's like to call. If you were to call, I mean, I'm pretty surprised that the double line dialer is going really quick and people, it's like at least even going to voicemails. That's good. And I am having conversations. The bare minimum that you should have in a 1 hour period, if you're calling straight, is 7 conversations. I actually remember when I would first call, I would call and I would get rattled by a conversation. I would pause my dialer and like get up and leave to like go walk it off and shake it off. But at the same time, I was calling FSBOs and expired. So they were very ruthless. And then I'd come back and then I would call. And so the amount of time I actually sat at my desk calling compared to like how long the dialer was running for was probably like 50 or 60%. So it really took me time to build up that stamina of like just sitting here for an hour straight. Now I can do it for longer. Now I can do it for, she was like totally laughing, and that's fine. I'd rather call strangers and have a great time and get them to laugh and break the ice and give me the opportunity to ask my question rather than getting yelled at and screamed at and like, blah, all these like FSBOs and expireds, because that is really, really draining. Come on, lead. Let's get a lead. Let's get a lead. I actually have still these from the weekend I have to drop off that you guys saw. These were leads that I got. 2 of them were half leads, and 1 was a lead. What I mean by half lead is just someone where they were kind of speaking a certain way that gives me the idea that they're thinking about selling, but didn't really want to say it right off the bat because they didn't push me away and they were open to me sending them my business card. And so I will probably follow up with them I'll follow up with them like I usually do. And then after that, it's just kind of like a longer follow-up process. And at least for me to dig a little bit further to see if that really was an opportunity. So those I consider kind of like a half lead, because making calls with like my inner circle, I've had moments where I'm like, oh, I don't know if that was a lead. And then I explain it to some of them and they're like, no, Adela, that was a lead. You'd be surprised because they're experienced in it as well. So that's why I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't push that one on it. Let me just try because of their tonality. Like once you experience so many conversations on your own and how people say it, you start to pick up if they're like holding back or if they're just lying. Like those who say, oh, call me later. No, they really don't want you to call them back later. They're just being nice to get you off the phone. And that's when I tell them, are you sure you want me to call you later? It's regarding your home. And they're like, what is it about? I'm like, oh, did you want to sell your home? And that's when they say, oh, no, don't call me back. I'm like, okay. So I'm at 10 conversations and it's been an hour and 20 minutes of dialing. And I'm not going to give up. I am determined and, more importantly, consistent. And I was saying earlier, if you want consistent leads, consistent closings, you have to be consistent on calling. I would say the easiest way to get started is through circle prospecting. It's definitely a long term. So if you are looking for a quick paycheck, I'm not going to promise you're not going to quit a quick check. I have to say, I'm very surprised at how the pickup rate is. It's good. I'm liking it. Just see if we can get to 20. Eduardo said, do you feel a lot of imposter syndrome when you started as a new agent? I feel, you know what? That's a super, super great question. I still get imposter syndrome. And if it makes you feel any better, I've heard that even, I don't know if you know who Russell Brunson is, but he even admitted to still experiencing imposter syndrome, and some of his super successful students who make $1 million a month still experience imposter syndrome, where we just kind of question ourselves and doubt ourselves. The funniest, or not the funniest, but the craziest time I feel imposter syndrome is when I'm about to list another property, because I'm like, oh my God, is it going to sell? Oh my God, am I actually going to be able to sell it? And then, of course, within days, weeks, or if not like a couple months, we're already under contract. And I'm like, of course I was going to sell it. I knew exactly what I was doing. Why did I even second guess myself? But I still experience it. And there are some properties where I'm like, oh my God, am I going to be able to negotiate this contract? And I do, and the seller's super happy. I'm like, of course I could do it. I just had to believe in myself. So yeah, imposter syndrome. I want to say, I don't think I necessarily experienced like imposter syndrome as a new agent. I think I was just more overwhelmed of like not knowing enough. And then I just thought, okay, if I don't know enough, I just hung up on him. He's already listed. I don't want to waste his time, and that would be unprofessional of me to be speaking to him. So I hung up on him. I would count that though as a conversation, because that was him and that was his address, but it's for sale. And as real estate agents, you're not allowed to be soliciting to people who are already listed on the MLS. Moving on. So I think I was just maybe more worried about not knowing enough. So there was an agent who I met at one of my old brokerages, and I think I gave this advice to one of you watching. She said, go to open houses on the weekend and print out the MLS sheets, ask questions to the agents about the house, such as materials, any updates, anything that you should start being familiar with. The biggest thing for me was materials. So like what kind of flooring it is, the roof, the windows, the names of appliances. And then, so she actually told me, go to open houses, print out your MLS sheets. And then after you get home, write on the top right corner what you think it'll sell for. Keep track, like have a stack, do it weekend after weekend if you can. I was doing that for like 3 months. I did that like for 2 hours Saturday, 2 hours Sunday. And of course I was like telling my husband and kids, you guys want to go open house? They're like, no. So it was very lonely for me. But the great news about that is I kind of sped up my learning. And then I was able to look back and see what they actually sold for, which gave me confidence when it came to confidence in terms of pricing, when it came to CMAs and actually meeting with homeowners. And you know, one thing people don't talk about, if you focus on your city, which I did, and I would go neighborhood by neighborhood, I would go to all these open houses. And then eventually, once I started converting and getting listings in my own neighborhood in just certain areas, I was able to tell a seller about a property that sold that I would use as a comp. And I would ask them, did you ever pop into their open house? And they would say no, sometimes yes. And I would say, oh yeah, I was inside. What you don't see on the MLS is that the bathroom, blah, 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 or the driveway or the AC, or that actually needed a new roof. So I knew stuff about the houses that I would use as comps, which actually made me the professional when it came to talking about comps in the area. I should actually start doing that more often. I do see the open houses like on the weekend. I'm like, oh, I should really pop in. I should really pop in. And I've just been super busy and slammed. But I would highly recommend for all new agents, start going to open houses, keep track of the MLS sheets, and see what they actually end up selling for. Just so that way you know more about the neighborhood than the actual homeowners you end up meeting. And I would not recommend going so far out. You're better off working your city, working the area, than because you're not going to be a professional on multiple cities. It's just impossible. And you'd be surprised how many homeowners have told me, "Oh, Adele, I'm so happy to work with you because you actually live here, or you know the area, you know everything that's going on in the city, and you can." All right, so I'm going to be at 14. Let's keep calling. So I normally don't call Mondays, and I don't like to call Mondays. Mondays, for some reason, I have experiences. Most people are very upset because it's Monday. I don't know if it's like some kind of Monday blues and everyone's pissed off that they're at work. And then the funniest thing is I'm always like, if you're at work, why are you answering your phone? And I have yet to get leads. But don't listen to me because people in my inner circle actually do get leads on Mondays. It just hasn't been my experience. I don't know if it's maybe just people in my area. But that's not going to stop me. Flavio said, absolutely. Best days are Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Huh. I don't know if I'll have to see. You know, my actual best days are Fridays and Saturdays. I actually absolutely love those days. I usually get more I would get like 3 leads on those days. I haven't recently, but that's typical. I feel like everyone's on vacation mode Friday and Saturday, but Tuesdays and Wednesdays are actually really good. For some reason, I used to think maybe Wednesdays were bad, but no, you're right. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are good. I feel like Sundays sometimes people can be very cranky. Like, what are you doing calling on a Sunday? Let's see. Actually, I'm curious, Flavio, do you circle prospect as well? Or is it for the most part FSBOs or maybe expireds or canceled? Hey, Sergio. Hey, how was your weekend? It was good. I worked. I've been negotiating 2 offers. One of them we finally fine-tuned. Yeah, I worked. And then, although yesterday, I did work in the afternoon, but I did take my mom and my daughter to Palm Beach because they've never been. And it was crazy because it was like a total thunderstorm. Thankfully, it was on our way back home. It was a little scary. We were driving like 30 miles per hour in the freeway. It was raining that hard. But thankfully, it was just later in the day and at night, and the sun is shining again today. But that's what we did. I really work a lot on the weekends, you guys. Like Mondays is usually the day I'm not on the phone, and usually is the day I'm servicing clients, updating the homeowners for the current listings I have, doing a lot of content like posting on Instagram. I have not even had time to post on my Instagram all my pending sales and solds. Like I have another closing on Thursday. And I've just been so crazy busy because I do everything on my own, all my YouTube on my own, editing on my own, lead generation on my own, follow-ups on my own. All the Instagram, all the X posts, everything on all my social media platforms I do on my own. So it's super overwhelming, but hence I don't listen to music. I listen to YouTube and podcasts and learning all the time when I'm driving or working out. I don't listen to music, and I don't watch TV or shows. The only show I watch is Real Housewives. And that's only 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week, if that. I listen to Audible books. I don't have a hobby other than work. My mentor even asked me, he's like, Adela, what do you like to do? I say I work. And my kids know. If you ask my daughter, she'd say, Mommy loves to work. All she does is work. You know, some people say, oh, there's not enough time in the day. Well, guess what I do after I put my kids to bed? After they go to bed, I'm working. Like I work till 10:30 at night, from like 8:30 or 9 from the time they go to bed. I work on like stuff that I can't do when well, how should I say this? I work on my emails. I work on social media if possible. I work on editing. I work on anything creative on my laptop after my kids have gone to bed. So when people are like, I can't figure it out, I'm like, that's the time I figure stuff out, like how to work StreamYard, how to work YouTube, how to post on Instagram, how to edit a video. I do that late at night. Other professions get interns. Realtors need interns. LOL. You know what? I will say this. A lot of realtors have virtual assistants. And some of them have ISAs, which are inside sales agents, which are basically people that make cold calls for you. I have had 5 different ISAs, but that was primarily to do cold calls for me when I was trying to get up my first YouTube channel up and running, and it just did not work out. And I remember hearing, after I had made up all those mistakes of spending thousands of dollars paying others to make phone calls for me and it not getting any traction, somebody had said, if you, what did they say? I think it was maybe Daniel Priestley. He said like lead generation. Yeah. So listen, I have had ISAs. I would not recommend it, only if maybe you are super, super successful, making like $500,000 a year and you want to dabble into experiment. Cool. VAs, I struggle with that, but what did help me is at least getting a transaction coordinator. And that's not someone I had to even train. She's a true professional. In fact, she has taught me more, and that's exactly what you want, someone who knows more than you. Flavio, I'm in the rental business and I just do cold calling to buy properties for my portfolio. I just like to hear you to improve my skills. That's pretty cool, actually. I'm in the rental business. That's awesome. It kind of reminds me of like wholesalers, but you're actually just doing it for yourself and not a company. I have dealt with younger cold callers who work for wholesaling companies, and they end up cold calling, or even like trying to get the listings that I'm selling. And I'm just thinking, wow, if you actually just did the cold calling for yourself, they would be really successful. It's unfortunate that they're having to do it for a third party. But obviously they do it for a financial reason, right? They don't have the capital, such as yourself, to actually buy the rental properties. But that's pretty awesome, actually. So that would be great. Anything you can, want to copy, take, feel free. I'm just sitting here dialing. I'm at 17 conversations. Oh, you know what, Flavio? Oh, Flavia said happy birthday. You know what, Flavio? I think you would actually appreciate, look up Benjamin Dennehy. He's the UK most hated sales guy or something on YouTube. He may be a good person to check out, at least in regard to his approach. I feel like that's kind of how we've learned, or how should I say it, picked up like the way you approach people in conversations when you're cold calling. So look him up. Actually, I'll put it in the chat. Benjamin. Yeah, Benjamin Dennehy, look him up. All right, guys, I'm actually going to sign off. Feel free to watch this in the replay. I am gonna go hang out with my kids. I actually do have a lot more work to do. I have to talk to the homeowners on the listings and finish some more negotiating on contracts. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Feel free to ask me any questions, leave comments, watch this replay, anything that you may have learned, feel free to use. And I will see you guys later. Bye.